Last night, Steve Avery's ninth-inning heroics earned the lefty his first big league win since 1999. And tonight, the Tigers go for 2 in a row and the series win. It's the finale in this 3-game set between Oakland Athletics. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Comerica Park, and welcome to another night of Tigers baseball. I'm Mario Impemba, along with my partner, Ron Allen. Glad to have you with us tonight for another night. And hopefully the Tigers will win to make it 2 out of 3 against the A's. A great ball game here last night as the Tigers win it in the bottom of the 9th inning, Rod. A big at-bat for Craig Monroe in that inning, but maybe a bigger at-bat earlier in the game. It was a remarkable at-bat. I mean, Craig Monroe, what he has done since coming up from Toledo has been outstanding. Here's a guy that's not afraid of anybody. Not only does he hit the 5th best starters on any team, he hits the number ones, and Hudson definitely is a number one. Hudson gave him everything but the kitchen sink in this 13-pitch sequence. Fastballs down, breaking balls, changeups. Finally, it was a changeup that was down in the strike zone that he did find the seats with in left field. Monroe, what a story, Mario, last year up 5 times from Toledo and Detroit. Here's a guy that was sent out in spring training, very second cut. He didn't know whether he'd ever get back to the big leagues of Detroit or not, but give him a lot of credit for going down, really busting his tail, and now he's back in the big leagues. And boy, is he back. 14 RBIs in 20 games in his call-up this year from AAA Toledo. Tough assignment tonight. Barry Zito will be on the mound for the A's. This guy won the Cy Young last year, but he's only 3-4 lifetime against the Tigers. Can they get him again tonight? Find out next. Our Tigers and A's tonight. Alan Trammell, Bob Cluck. They saw a big-time win last night for the Tigers. And let's check out the Oakland lineup tonight. It will include a Rubio Durazo, who has 3 hits already in this series. Mark Ellis leads it off. He'll play at second base. Scott Hatterberg is batting second at first base. Eric Chavez will hit third and play third. A middle 3 of Tejada, the shortstop. Durazo, the DH, Hernandez, the catcher, and a bottom 3 of Terrence Long in right, Eric Burns in left, and Singleton, the right center fielder. The pitching report tonight for the Tigers, right-hander Adam Bernero looking for that first win, right?
He was outstanding 5 days ago, but he was outdueled by Jim Barquet, who 2-hit the Tigers. Bernero in that start, 7 innings, only gave up 2 earned runs. He has been the shutout victim 3 times in his 7 starts this year. In the third-person reference, the other day he was asked exactly a question about Barry Zito. Was he concerned about Barry Zito? And he said, no, Barry Zito should be concerned about Adam Bernero.
Very good attitude to have. And his first pitch of the ball game is in there. A strike called on Mark Ellis. That is some positive thinking for Adam Bernero. They play in tight at third base. The speedy leadoff man, Ellis. Bernero's 0-1 pitch. Hit toward third and over the glove of Dimitri Young into left. So a leadoff single for Mark Ellis. And let's go around the horn now. Look at the Tigers defense, brought to you by the new Hummer H2. Carlos Pena will play first tonight. Shane Halter is at second base. Dimitri Young at third. Omar Infante the shortstop. The outfield has Monroe in left. Torres in center field. Higginson is in right. And the battery tonight, Brandon Inge catching for Adam Bernero. Here's Scott Hatterberg now with 1 on, nobody out. Hatterberg had a big-time at-bat last night, unable to come through with the bases loaded against Steve Avery in the 9th inning. And Avery struck him out looking. And that set up the bottom of the 9th heroics as the Tigers picked up a win. The 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Dimitri way off the line at third base. I mean, and you're wondering in this situation, if you're Bernero, you've got to pitch him in because you're looking for the ground ball, because there's a lot of room down in that direction.
We don't normally see that wide of a hole down the line at third, maybe against guys like Mo Vaughn and Jason Giambi, the big-time power hitters, but Hatterberg is being played to pull severely. 1 ball and 2 strikes on the Oakland first baseman. And as you can see, he likes to spray the baseball around. Here's the 1-2 on the ground toward Dimitri. Had him played nicely. He'll have only 1 play, and that's to first for the out. Alan Trammell Ed Young placed perfectly that time to record the out.
You know, Mario, that's one thing that they have done a very nice job of this year. When they do decide to overplay somebody defensively, that hitter more often than not hits right into the defense.
Yeah, for the most part, it really has worked.
That's just good scouting and knowing who you're going up against, also knowing exactly what your pitcher on the mound is trying to accomplish.
Here is Eric Chavez now with the man in scoring position, 1 out. The A's batting in the first inning. Strike called on Chavez. A little bit cooler here this evening at the ballpark. 57 degrees at game time. Overcast. And some of the crowd bundled up a bit tonight. See a few more jackets this evening. The 0-1. He missed the inside corner. 1-1 on Chavez.
Nice job on the pregame show today by John Keating. Had a chance to sit down with Eric Chavez and also Eric Munson, who played high school baseball together in San Diego, California. Mount Carmel High School.
The 1-1 offering. Right at the knees, 1 and 2. A whole lot of talent on that team between those two, and they were excited finally to be able to play in the same big league game together, albeit with different teams. So Bernero is ahead in the count now on Chavez. 1 and 2. Swung on and missed, and Chavez goes down. A big strikeout there for Bernero early on.
Could see the forkball grip by Adam Bernero. Chavez not swinging the bat real well right now. He missed a couple of games because he dove for a ball and the ball hit him in the hand. Instead of getting glove, he got some flesh, and you can tell he's not himself right now.
Well, here is Miguel Tejada, who is becoming more and more himself after a very slow start. He's hitting .333 in the month of May. A's now looking for the 2-out hit to score the game's first run, and this is a situation in which the A's have struggled a bit in this series. They are now just 2 for 14 with runners in scoring position.
If you're the Tigers, you'd like to keep it right at that figure. And Miguel Tejada, of course, has had his own struggles with runners in scoring position.
That's line to right field. It's trouble. Slicing. It's down. A base hit. A run will score as Ellis comes in. And Tejada with a 2-out RBI single, and the A's get the early lead.
That's one thing about a guy like Tejada. When he comes in struggling from a batting average stance, you really can't measure that into exactly what he's doing. We're going to take a look at this pitch. It's going to be right down the middle. And that's exactly what you want to do when you're not swinging the bat well. You see the head direction right down on the baseball. Very good swing by Tejada, and something he doesn't do that often. He doesn't really like to go to right field. He's a guy that really likes to utilize left center to left field, but you can tell when a guy's starting to get back on track by a guy taking the ball the other way.
And he did so for RBI number 24 on the season now, and that'll bring up a Rubio Durazo. Well, with the way things have gone for Bernero, he really can't afford to give up too many runs because the Tigers have not given him a whole lot of support this year. In fact, he's last in the majors in run support. Tigers have given him 1.22 runs per 9 innings.
That's enough.
If you're pitching a shutout, it is.
1.2 runs per game. That's ridiculous.
Boy, it's got to be frustrating, and we've talked about the frustrations of Mike Maroth, and there is the support for that stat. Bonderman and Maroth are on that list. 1, 2, and 3. How about that?
No, and that wasn't a Tigers stat, folks. That's the American League. You got 3 pitchers at the top of the list as far as the run support is concerned in the AL.
Well, I was talking with Brandon Inge a while back about that, and his pitchers have not complained at all about the fact that they haven't gotten any runs. As Durazo cuts and misses, and they've just been able to go about their business, and sooner or later they realize the offense will come around.
It's a big league pitch right here. It's a change up that darts away from Durazo. 2-1. Durazo dialed in for the fastball, and if you throw him a fastball in that situation, more often than not he's going to hit it hard somewhere, so you got to change speeds on him.
Here's the 2-2 pitch. Bounced in a breaking ball, got away briefly from Inge, and the count fills up now on Durazo. Brandon had that big sac fly in the 9th inning to win it for the Tigers last night. Bernero's last start, perhaps his most frustrating, gave up just 2 runs in 7 innings. Down in St. Pete against Tampa Bay, the Tigers lost it 2-0. 3-2 with the runner going. It's slapped in the air toward left center, and Monroe has to play it on 1 hop. To third base goes Tejada. And back-to-back 2-out singles for the A's as they keep the inning going.
Well, one thing Bernero must do if he's going to have any success whatsoever in this game, he's got to get the ball down in the strike zone, especially the dangerous hitters like Durazo and Tejada. This ball up in the strike zone away from him. Durazo can put that ball in play. And, of course, Tejada running on the play. He's not going to stop. He's going to get over to third base.
So the Athletics now have posted 3 hits already in this game. As Durazo gets his 4th hit in this series. Here's the catcher now, Ramon Hernandez. 304 hitter, but relatively quiet offensively in this series. 1 for 8.
You know, speaking on Durazo, who spent 4 years in Arizona before being traded to Oakland, there was never a question in Arizona whether he would hit or not. You give him 500 at-bats, and his numbers are going to be somewhere around 30 home runs and 100 runs driven, and he's going to walk 100 times. But what they questioned was the fact that he could not get on the field consistently.
That's going to be a tough play. Bernero will make a wild throw to first base. Pena with a terrific play to stop that one, but Tejada will score. And the A's get another run on basically what was a swinging bunt from Hernandez.
Just a little bit of an excuse me swing. The fastball runs in on him, and he tries to hold up, but he makes contact, and the ball dribbles down toward third base. Young playing deep, has no play. Bernero shouldn't have thrown that ball, but a nice job by Pena coming off the bag to prevent the ball from going down the right field corner.
Well, he saved the day there. Otherwise, they get another run in. 2-0 Oakland lead now, and they will send their 7th man to bat in this inning, Terrence Long, with runners at first and second. Long has really struggled on the road this year. You can see he's 0 for 7 in this series, but he's a 159 hitter away from Oakland this season. Bernero missing outside. 1 ball and 1 strike as we look at the breakdown, the home and road breakdown for Terrence Long. A little bit better at home. As far as the average is concerned, much better. That's outside again.
Well, Bernero's going to have to go inside with a fastball, even though Hernandez, who stands on first base, got the swinging bunt on an outstanding inside fastball that ran in on his hands. If you're a pitcher out there, you don't want to go back in there because you've not had success in there. But if you look at the hits that Oakland has in this inning, except for Ellis, the leadoff hitter, everything has been the opposite way. So from a pitching standpoint, you've got to show these guys that you will at least come inside so they start thinking about something else.
Terrence Long has 21 RBIs this year. That's a pretty good number for a guy hitting 7th in the lineup. He's way ahead in the count, 3-1. And he swings right through it. 3 balls, 2 strikes now on Long. We've talked about how this A's team has not been a typical A's ball club in terms of offense this year. They have had a few players that have gone through some prolonged stretches in which they have been slumping. Their pitching has certainly carried them. 3-2 is fouled back out of play, and it's not like they are scoring a ton of runs in this series as well. Tiger pitching has done a good job.
Well, really, the Tigers have done a nice job against Oakland in the 5 games that they've played so far this year. They won 1 game out in Oakland. They won the game last night, as you mentioned earlier. And with a win tonight, they've got a chance of winning the series against the first place Oakland Athletics.
And that certainly would be nice. The A's come in as a team batting .252, and only 3 ball clubs have a lower team average than the Athletics. But boy, Ken Maka has really ridden his pitching staff this year. They have the best ERA in the league. 3-2 again with the runners going, and that's ball 4, and the struggles continue now for Bernero out of the chute.
Well, it's nice to see Brandon Inge and also Carlos Pena going to give Bernero a little bit of a blow here. We were talking about it in last night's game, Mario, because their infield is so young. there's really not that leader out there. No one goes in to talk to the young pitchers when they're out there struggling with their control, or whether they're upset behind an error on their team, or even a swinging bunt like Ramon Hernandez had down that third baseline.
Well, Eric Burns will bat now. He's had a couple of key hits in this series, and he'll have an early opportunity to bust this one open a little bit with the bases full and 2 outs. Burns a 6-game hitting streak now. And a strike called. 0-1. They are full. Are the bases. Durazo is at third. Hernandez the runner at second base, and Terrence Long just drawing the walk. The 0-1. That's down low, and that's the 30th pitch now that Bernero has thrown here in the first inning. Certainly not the type of start you want to get off to. Burns has had just a couple of opportunities in his young career with the bases loaded. He is 0 for 2 in the big leagues. Here's the 1-1. Down low again. 2 balls and 1 strike on Burns.
You know, this is a typical Oakland Athletic inning, though. They've got one goal when the game starts, and that's to wear down the starting pitcher. They want to see as many pitches as possible in that very first at-bat. And as you mentioned, he's already over 30. So more than likely, he's not going to go very deep in this game.
And now it's 3-1 on Burns, and no place to put him.
Tram a little uneasy over there watching Bernero struggle in the first inning, knowing exactly what he's up against in tonight's game with number 75 on the other squad going out there to toe the rubber in the bottom half of this inning. He's got to throw a fastball right down the middle here.
And he caught the inside corner. Burns was headed to first base. That barely caught the corner, if it did. So it's a full count now, and again the Athletics will start the runners here. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Swung on and drilled to the air. Deep left center field. Torres is back, and that ball is off the base of the wall. Durazo scores. Hernandez scores. Long will come in, and Burns slides in with a triple. He clears the bases, and the Athletics have a 5-0 lead. And when you fall behind, you come in with a fastball, and this is what happened.
Well, Burns knows beyond a shadow of a doubt he's going to get a fastball right down the middle, and that's exactly where it was. Anytime you get a baseball in that area, it's going to get driven somewhere into the gap, and that's exactly what Burns finds, a gap out there.
A 7-game hitting streak now for Burns. Give him 3 more RBIs, and here is Chris Singleton, who bats for the first time tonight. They will hit around in the first inning against Bernero. Singleton with 1 hit in the series. 303 for the year. Takes a strike. 1-1. And just what you don't want to do in any ball game, and that's get the bullpen going in the very first inning. Will Ledesma heating it up now. That's outside. 2 balls and 1 strike on Singleton. Burns has just tripled with the bases loaded to drive in 3. So he helped him out there. Singleton chased a pitch way out of the strike zone. A little bit over anxious for Singleton.
Right now, Bernero doesn't have it. A lot of his pitches have been up in the strike zone. He's a guy that, for the most part, Mario, all season long, has worked down in the strike zone. A mixture of fastballs right at the knees, that split-fingered fastball, and also breaking ball. But today, having a very difficult time of finding a consistent arm slot, which would allow him to throw the ball down in the strike zone.
Well, we are about to see the 40th pitch of the inning from Adam Bernero. And it's rifled in the air to right field. Base hit. Burns will score another run in for the A's. It's a 6-0 ball game.
Well, you wonder if Trammell's going to give him one more hitter. And if he does give him one more hitter, if he does not get the leadoff hitter Ellis out, then Bernero will be out of the game.
Athletics now have already 6 hits on the board. Here comes Bob Cluck. It all started with a leadoff single by Mark Ellis, and Adam Bernero really scuffling here in the top half of the first. Meanwhile, Bob Cluck has made his way out to the mound. Well, as they talk it over on the hill, here's a reminder. It's your chance to be part of Fox Sports Net's Tigers production team. Log on to foxsports.com, type in the keyword eBay, take part in the auction for a never-before-offered experience. It's behind-the-scenes access to our coverage of Tigers baseball with a visit to the production truck and the broadcast booth. That and more, including 4 game tickets and a parking pass. It's all here in an exciting all-access auction now on foxsports.com, keyword eBay. So the A's have been clutch in this inning with 5 2-out hits. And here is Mark Ellis batting for the second time.
That's tough when you give up that many 2-out hits. You know, at some point in time, you've got to make a quality pitch down in the strike zone to get you a ground ball, which would allow your infielders a chance to make a play for you.
Good breaking ball drops in, and the count on Ellis now. 2 balls and 2 strikes. 6 runs on 6 hits against Bernero in the first. The 0-2. A little bit high and away. 1-2.
And this is so unlike Tigers pitching, Mario. The last 10 games, they've got an earned run average of 303, which is 3rd best in the majors in their last 10 games.
Yeah, it has been outstanding. He got Ellis to chase that time, and Inge will throw to first, completing the strikeout. But a big opening inning for the A's. They score 6 times and bat around against Bernero. Roughed up in his first inning as the A's get 6 against him. Let's check out the Tigers starting lineup, brought to you by Gardner White Furniture. Craig Monroe, big game last night, including a solo home run against Tim Hudson. Andres Torres leads it off in center field. Omar Infante will bat second. Bobby Higginson is in right. Dimitri Young at third. Monroe is in left. Pena at first base. And a bottom 3 of Halter at second. Inge the catcher. Kingsale the designated hitter tonight. And our Pepsi pitching report includes Barry Zito for the A's.
He's got an incredible curveball. It's the pitch that he will get you out with when he gets ahead of you, and he really does thrive when he gets ahead of you. When he gets ahead, the opponent's batting average is 167. When he falls behind, 262. And of course, Eric Munson not in the game tonight, but they played collegiately at USC, both #1 draft choices in 1999.
Yeah, Eric Munson was Barry Zito's catcher at USC.
Barry was the 9th player chosen in the first round that year, and Eric Munson was the 3rd player chosen in that round.
Andres Torres leading it off for the Tigers, who try and fight back a little bit here in the first after giving up 6 big ones. Torres and Infante and Higginson. Andres back in the lineup tonight. Kingsale was in the leadoff slot last night, had a couple of hits. So he remains in the lineup tonight as the DH, but Torres got the night off. And back in there tonight after scuffling a bit with the bat. There's that big hook, and there's strike 3 called. Got him looking, and the first strikeout tonight for Barry Zito. Let's go around the horn now and check out the defense for the Oakland Athletics. Scott Hatterberg will play first base. Mark Ellis patrolling second. Eric Chavez at third. Miguel Tejada the shortstop. The outfield with Burns in left, Singleton in center, Long is in right, and Hernandez catching Zito this evening. Here's Omar Infante. He's hit safely in 4 of his last 6. And only 1 hit in this series after a pretty good road trip through Baltimore and Tampa Bay. Swung out and missed. He chased that time, and the count is 0-2.
Zito's numbers this year: 262 earned run average. He's won 5, lost 3. Opponents not doing a whole lot against him.
The 0-2, a little high and away.
Zito's got the fastball that barely touches 90. But he's got great movement with it. He's got the exceptional curveball, the knee buckling breaking ball. You know, Mario,
there's one of those breaking balls driven to center, but it's run down by Singleton.
We will see it before the game's over. when you see the right-hander's knees buckle, that means the left-hander out there has got an outstanding move.
And you probably will see it in this one tonight. Barry Zito, worst record against all teams in the American Leagues, the Tigers.
Well, that means Detroit has plenty of time to get themselves back in this game. One pitch at a time, one out at a time, or one base hit at a time. You can't get them all back at once.
The earned run average is still pretty good, 2.74, but he is 3-4, so the Tigers had found some ways to beat him.
He was 23-5 last year with a 2.75 earned run average. Of course, he won the Cy Young Award.
Higgy lines it to right field, base hit.
There was a lot of debate, Mario, as to whether he really earned that award last year. When you look at his numbers, they were exceptional, but Pedro Martinez in Boston was 20-4, and his earned run average was 2.26. Very close balloting, 114 to 96 as far as the points were concerned. So it was a very close race.
2-out base hit for Higginson. That'll bring up Detorit Young. Well, there's no question that there were a lot of people, Rob, that thought Pedro should have won it last year, and there may have been as many people in his camp as with Zito. That's line to left. That's a base hit. And Higginson will go to second base. So the Tigers now.
Right here for Monroe to somehow hit something in the gap. I'm not saying try to hit a home run, but if they could put 1 or 2 runs back on the board in the very first inning here, then that would give them a lot of hope going up against a very tough pitcher. That's a changeup that stays up in the strike zone, and Detorit Young, when he sees ball, he hits ball.
So Young keeps the inning going, and here is Craig Monroe now, who homered in the ballgame off Hudson last night, doubled to start the 9th, and eventually scored the game-winning run. Breaking ball missing down low, 1 ball and no strikes. Zito with a mini jam working here now in the first inning. Missing inside. Last time Monroe faced Zito back in Oakland. He took him deep.
Those were the only 2 runs that he gave up. And of course, the Tigers went on to win that game.
2 balls and 1 strike now on Monroe, and that is his only hit against Barry Zito.
It was a big one.
Monroe, by the way, snapped an 0 for 15 slump with that home run last night against Tim Hudson. The 2-1. A little bit high. 3 balls and 1 strike. Higginson down at second base, and Detorit Young at first. Back-to-back 2-out singles. Tigers try and chip away at that 6-0 deficit. The 3-1 pitch. It's inside, ball 4, and the Tigers have loaded him up. Zito didn't miss by much, but he did miss, and now Carlos Pena will bat with the bases full.
Well, you could tell that Zito wanted no part of Craig Monroe. And make no mistake about it, every time Craig Monroe comes up in this game with runners in scoring position, Zito will not give in to him. He's not going to give Monroe anything good to hit.
I think Monroe is putting a little bit of fear in some opposing pitchers with his aggressiveness and his ability to hit the ball hard and hit it a long way.
So far, the numbers that he has and just very limited playing time so far this year, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs, are enough to make anybody stand up and pay attention.
Well, I would say so in just 20 ball games. The opposing pitchers taking notes. Here is Pena, and Zito misses outside, 1-0.
If you're Carlos Pena, if there was ever a time when you were thinking that you're going to get a fastball from a guy like Barry Zito, bases are loaded, he's already fallen behind you, he can't walk you. He does have the great curveball, but you're not going to hit that anyway. You got to sit on that fastball. If you get it, let it hang out.
He hits it high in the air to shallow center. Chris Singleton is under it, and the Tigers will leave the bases loaded. So we played 1 full at Comerica Park, 6-0 A's. Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by Comerica. We listen, we understand, we make it work. Gardner White Furniture, we're known by the money you keep. Wallside Windows, most preferred, most referred. And by Hummer. Check out the new H2 at Hummer.com. Hummer like nothing else. On our way to the second in a 6-0 ball game is Adam Bernero, who threw 44 pitches in that first inning. Retakes the mound here in the second. Hatterberg, Chavez, and Tejada for the Athletics. Hatteberg go for one with a bounce out. Bernero gave up RBI hits to Tejada and Hernandez, but Burns' bases loaded triple turned out to be the huge hits in that inning. The 2-1. That's back up the middle into center field. And a leadoff single, so the A's picking up where they left off with that first.
Allen's going to have to get somebody else up in the bullpen, and it appears that Bernero does not have it tonight. And you can't fall behind any further. Not against this Oakland club.
No, and some nights you just don't have it.
You don't?
That appears to be one of the nights that Adam Bernero, one of the few nights this year that he has gone through this. The 6 runs that he has allowed is a season high. Here is Eric Chavez. He cuts and misses, 0-1. Chavez, 271 hitter coming in. He's driven in 16 and playing with that sore hand. And they say that it's pretty much a pain issue right now. He is back in the lineup, but if he gets jammed on a pitch, or perhaps at third base catches a hard line drive, he's going to have to deal with some pain until that's fully healed. And hand injuries, I would think, Rod, have to be one of the worst things for hitters.
No question about that, Mario. You definitely need your hands to swing the bat.
Ball outside. You see guys that sometimes have wrist problems, and that really cuts down on their effectiveness and their ability to swing the bat. Bernero again behind in the count, 2-1. Chavez struck out against Bernero back in the first. Went after a pitch again out of the strike zone, 2-2.
Kind of surprised that Carlos Pena playing behind Hatteberg over at first base. Even though they're up by 6 runs, it's still only the second inning. And what you're doing is inviting him to take second base. And you don't want to do that because you want to keep the double play in order.
The 2-2. Lifted back to the screen. That brings up the interesting thought. A lot of times you won't see teams run in a 6-0 ball game, but it is only the second inning. So if you see a guy run in this situation, how many teams might get upset at that?
Well, you shouldn't get upset. It's too early in the game. I mean, it's too many outs for the Tigers left in this game to come back.
6-0 in the 8th, and that's a different story, though, right? That's on the ground slowly to the right side. Pena scoops the second one. Relay as Bernero covers a little bit tardy. So Chavez aboard in the fielder's choice.
That's a nice play. You saw him throw that ball on the inside part of the base. We've seen Pena, at least on one occasion this year, throw that ball down to second base, but not clear himself out of the way of the runner. And he hit the runner, and the ball trickled into center field.
Here is Tejada now with a man on, a man out. 1 ball and no strikes on Miguel, who started the scoring party back in the first inning with an RBI single. 5-game hitting streak now for the Oakland shortstop. That's a strike called at the knees. 1-1.
A lot of times those of us that have spent any time in the National League the last few years have had a chance to see Gary Sheffield. We talk about him having the quickest bat in the National League, but there's a lot of people in the American League that believe that Miguel Tejada has the quickest bat in the American League.
Wow. Well, the numbers might lead you toward him. If you look at what he's done the past few years, in fact, he's hit 30 or more home runs and 100 or more RBIs in 3 straight seasons.
It's the very reason why Bernero continues to pound him on the inside part of the plate. Everybody else, he stays away from them, but he does not want to allow Tejada to extend his arms because he can do some damage.
2 balls, 2 strikes now on Miguel.
Good breaking ball. 2 balls, 1 strike. Don't give him the fastball. You know he's going to be aggressive in the strike zone. He's looking for the fastball. Give him something else.
Here's the 2-2. On the ground to the shortstop. Infante flips to second one. The relay is a double play. Taylor-made 6-4-3, and Bernero pitches through the second. We'll go to the bottom of the second inning in a 6-0 game. Tigers batting now, bottom of the second at Comerica Park. Barry Zito back to the hill, enjoying a 6-0 lead tonight as Shane Halter starts it off. It'll be Halter, then Inge and Kingsale, the bottom three in Alan Trammell's lineup this evening. Tigers loaded the bases in the first, but failed to score against Zito. Shane, working on a 4-game hitting streak, has seen his playing time really increase lately with the struggles of Santiago offensively. And you look at Shane's numbers in his last 3 games. Zito missing again. 3 balls and no strikes.
When Shane does get an opportunity to play, he's like a little spark plug for this Tigers team.
Yeah, he's played his position very well, whether it's second or short. He's had the bat going, and he has just picked up a leadoff walk. And Zito now has already walked a couple of hitters in this one.
Well, coming into the game, Zito had walked 24 in 55 innings pitched. So he's a guy that can get erratic in the strike zone if you allow him to. And so far, the Tigers have made him work a little bit out there.
Well, the most that Barry has walked in a start this year, a total of 4. He's done that a few times, and he's halfway there now. Halter, the man at first base. That'll bring up Brandon Inge, who looks at a strike on the outside corner. As you see, Brandon much better against left-handed pitching. Here's the 0-1. The hook stays high. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He's going to have to improve on that .073 batting average, however, against right-handers, because he is the everyday catcher.
Yeah, there is not a platoon situation here in Detroit this year. Inge is the everyday guy. And while he has done a tremendous job handling the staff this year, the offensive production certainly needs to pick up. And Brandon had the big sac fly in the 9th inning last night.
It was good to see him come through in that situation.
Yeah, he had a chance, and he did come through and hit the ball hard out to left and scored the winning run. Six RBIs for Inge this year. Big breaking ball that's tapped foul. Zito this season is 3-1 on the road. He just turned 25 years old.
One thing about his breaking ball, which makes it so tough for the right-handers to hit, is he starts it, Mario, over your head basically. And some hitters give up on it, and by the time you give on it, it lands right down, right around the belt buckle.
Came in with a fastball that time, and Inge sends it back to the screen. We have talked about the fact that Zito does not have that hard fastball. If he gets it to 90, that's pretty quick for Barry, but boy, he has a lot of deception, and that big curveball can be devastating and has been devastating. Inge hits it slowly towards second. Ellis to Tejada. The relay not in time. Tough ball to turn 2 on, and Inge beats it out.
I don't think Tejada timed it quite like he wanted to. If you look at Tejada running that fast across the bag, very seldom will you see a guy have the ability to gather himself and get anything on his throw. And Tejada's got one of the stronger arms in the major leagues as far as shortstops are concerned.
He has committed 10 errors this year, though, which is the most of any infielder, tied for the most of any infielder in the American League. Here is Kingsale now. A couple of hits in the ball game last night for Gene. He swings and sends it high in the air to left field. Eric Burns is back. And there are 2 gone now.
Alan Trammell before the game today was talking about his decision in giving Kingsale another start today instead of Munson. One, it's the left-hander on the mound, and Munson has not gotten a lot of playing time against left-handed pitching, but he also went with a gut feeling. He feels like Kingsale is a spark to the club, and by him batting 9th, it's like having another leadoff hitter.
Torres takes the ball outside. Well, I think he was a bit of a spark last night. He had a couple of hits, including a bunt single. Although they didn't lead to any runs, Kingsale was able to get on base, and that's what they wanted out of their leadoff man. Here's the 1-0. 2-0 now on Andres Torres. Torres struck out against Zito back in the first. That's low. Run the count to 3-0. Torres, when he was first called up, hit safely in 8 of his first 9 coming up from Toledo, but since that span he is 2 for 17, so the bat has cooled considerably, yet he has played a very good center field. That's down the middle, a strike called, and the count goes to 3-1.
Mario, I think you see that from time to time when a young player comes to the majors, and the veteran pitchers that he's going up against, they don't quite know him. So they're filling him out for the first couple of weeks, and then when they figure out a way to get you out, they go right after you.
That's hit hard into center field. Singleton on the run won't get it. It'll go to the wall. This will get a run in. Inge rounding third. He will score. Torres on his way to third. It's a stand-up triple. Now they'll send him home. Tejada's relay is not in time. Torres scores. It's a 6-2 ball game. The relay was misplayed, and Torres comes home to score.
That is just great coaching by Juan Samuel at third base. He never takes his eye off the baseball. He has done a marvelous job over there. He hasn't had a lot of runners to wheel around. First of all, 3-1 fastball. Even if you bury Zito, if you throw it right down the middle, it's going to get hit hard. Singleton picks it up. He throws the ball to Tejada as we watch Inge score rather easily. Torres is going to pull up at third base. The ball's mishandled, and now Samuel's telling him to get up and pick him up and get to home. And with a strong arm, he still doesn't get him.
So Torres more than likely will be given a triple on the play, and we'll see who they charge the error to. They will give it to Singleton, the center fielder, so a triple, an RBI, E8 on the play, and the Tigers get 2 runs back quickly. Here is Infante, and the 1-0 pitch missing outside.
The Tigers don't care who gets the air there, but really the air should go to Miguel Tejada. Anytime the ball is going to short hop you as a shortstop, you're taught, because you practice this in spring training and occasionally you practice it during the season. You go get the baseball. You don't allow it to short hop you. You catch it in the air, and then that run doesn't score.
I agree with you 100% on that one. In fact, I wrote down E6 in the scorebook thinking that he had gotten the air, but they gave it to Singleton. Infante is ahead 2-1. And while the A's scored some 2-out runs, so have the Tigers now here in the second.
Take a look at the relay. This is not a bad throw. If you're Tejada, you've got to move your feet toward the ball. You can see he did not move his feet, therefore does not come up with it cleanly, and the center fielder gets an error.
There's a ground ball to Tejada, shuffling his feet to the right, and he'll make the play and throw out Infante. But the Tigers get a pair of 2-out runs. Durazo, Hernandez, and Long coming up. Still catching his breath after his RBI triple. Got the Tigers a couple of runs. By the way, how many strikeouts will the Tigers pitching staff have in tonight's game? Enter the Briggs & Stratton Mow 'em Down contest by calling 1-866-FOX-FAN-D anytime during tonight's telecast and place your guess. If you're the first correct caller, you win a Briggs & Stratton cooler and great Fox Sports Net apparel. Plus, be entered to win a trip to Chicago to see the Tigers face the White Sox. Here come the A's now. It's a little bit tighter on the scoreboard. 6-2 ball game as Durazo leads it off.
Big inning for Bernero. He's got to shut him down right here.
Well, he came back nicely after giving up 6 runs in the first and shut him down in the second. Halter handled this one easily, and Durazo is gone, 1 away.
You got to like that. 1 pitch, 1 out.
And how nice would it be for Adam now to settle into this one and perhaps watch his offense get right back into this game?
Well, they've already scored more runs for him in this game than he's gotten in his previous 7 starts.
1.22 runs per game coming in, and he already has a bountiful 2 in this one tonight. Here is Hernandez now, who takes a ball down low. Ramon singled in a run, an infield single back in the 6-run first inning. Now we talk about Bernero and his frustration, I'm sure, with lack of offense. He has pitched with just 3 leads this year. Only 3 times has his team had the lead when Bernero has been on the mound. And he comes in with a record of 0-5. But the numbers do not tell the entire story. 2-1 on Hernandez. Athletics came into this one still tied for first out in the American League West. 24-15, tied with Seattle. There's a ball that just missed a little bit high and away. 3-1 now is the count.
There was a lot of people out there that thought that the last couple of years the National League West was the toughest division in baseball, but I believe the American League West now is the best division in baseball.
There's a walk to Hernandez. I don't think you can argue that point. I really don't. As we look at the standings, the Angels starting to play a little bit better now. They beat the Yankees the last 2 nights. You know, that Rangers offense, they'll still scare you, regardless of the fact that they can't pitch it all that well. They will score some runs on you.
They will most definitely do that. Speaking of the Angels, your former club, they were just sold.
They were. I believe it became official today.
Arturo Moreno is the first Latino majority owner in the history of baseball.
Well, the Disney company almost immediately after they bought the Angels from the Autries realized that they weren't able to make a lot of money or as much money as they wanted, so they were looking to sell that team for the last couple of years, and they have finally pulled the trigger on it.
They also own the Mighty Ducks?
The Mighty Ducks of Anaheim.
And they're trying to sell them too.
Yeah, and they're 1 game away from going to the Stanley Cup.
Go figure.
Unbelievable. 2-0 on Terrence Long. That's popped up foul, back out of play. 2-1. Yeah, the city of Anaheim has enjoyed some success of late. Long walked and scored back in the first inning. Here's the 2-1. That's it to first. Pena fires to Infante. Relay, scoop nicely. And the double play. Bernero gets another double play, the second in as many innings. It stays a 6-2 ball game. 2 as we head to the bottom half of the 3rd inning tonight at Comerica Park. And the Boys of Summer return with the season premiere of Fox Saturday Baseball. This week, Troy Gloss and the world champion Angels take on Nomar Garcia Parra and the Boston Red Sox. Or the Cubs battle the Cardinals. MLB on Fox opening day Saturday, 1 p.m. on your local Fox station. That's Fox 2 in the Motor City.
Ain't nothing like it, Mario, being able to get up on Saturday morning, have a nice breakfast, and then tune in to a little Saturday Fox baseball before we come do our thing.
That's what Saturdays are all about. Relaxing, watching some baseball. Higgy drives the first pitch deep into center. Singleton has a ton of room, though, and 1 gone. So Zito, who hasn't really been masterful tonight, still has a 4-run lead.
And one of the reasons why, you know, the Tigers have been able to get to Barry Zito is the fact that he's not throwing a lot of strikes. 5 of the first 12 hitters he's fallen behind, and we gave you the numbers earlier. When he gets ahead, the batting average 167 against him. When he doesn't, the opponents hit 260 against him.
It rises sharply. 1 ball and no strikes, but isn't that pretty much the same with most pitchers, Rod? If they continually get ahead of you, they will certainly have a lot more success.
But there are certain guys that really know how to put you away. And of course, you would put Barry Zito in that class.
And there's the difference.
A guy like Randy Johnson, when he gets ahead of you, no balls and 1 strike or 2 strikes, he can put you away.
Then it's lights out.
Pedro. Yeah. Certain guys don't have that legitimate out pitch or don't have the kind of command to put you away once they've gotten ahead of you.
Dimitri checking his swing. The count 1 ball, 2 strikes. Young singled back in the first. Tigers looked like they might get a rally going. They loaded the bases, but failed to score with 2 outs in that first inning. Barry Zito has really put up some unbelievable numbers at home. Now his road record is very good as well. That's hit hard towards short. Tejada ranging right. The throw is scooped nicely at first base by Hatteberg, and there are 2 gone now. That'll bring up Craig Monroe, and you might remember last night that big 13-pitch at bat, and his manager Alan Trammell talks about it.
You're just hoping when a guy battles like that, maybe he gets a walk or a single, and he capped it off with a home run. And what an at bat! That's an at bat that Craig Monroe will never forget. I mean, 20 years from now, somebody will bring that day up, and believe me, he'll remember that basically every pitch. And to cap it off against a guy like Tim Hudson is quite an at bat.
Yeah, and that was the capper coming against a guy like Tim Hudson.
I mean, he's arguably, you know, one of the better right-handers in the game today.
Swung on and missed by Monroe.
And the amazing thing about that at bat, Mario, is the fact that Hudson did not throw him a changeup until the 13th pitch. So he hadn't seen the changeup. It was down. It wasn't a bad pitch, but he was starting to feel pretty good because he had fouled off so many pitches and finally connected on one.
Craig just has those very strong wrists, a very, very quick bat.
He's not afraid.
And he's not afraid.
He is not afraid.
That's the key, isn't it?
Kick up some dirt.
You may get me, but every now and then I'm going to get you, and that seems to be his attitude. And finally getting an extended look and a chance to play every day. Didn't have that opportunity last year. Zito's 2-2 pitch. Oh, he got him looking there. Strike 3 called. He was looking for something else, perhaps the curve. And a 1-2-3 inning for Zito. 6-2 ball game.
Aflac!
Yes, indeed. It's Aflac trivia time. And here we go tonight. Besides Barry Zito, who are the other 4 A's to win the Cy Young Award? There have been 4 of them, aside from Mr. Zito, who won it last year.
That's a good question.
It's a very good question. You think she knows? In a few years, she might.
What a doll.
Indeed, on a bit of a chilly night tonight, but Mom's got her bundled up.
Her daddy gonna be in trouble once she turns 16.
Here's Eric Burns now.
He's gonna have to keep the shotgun handy.
Keep the doors locked. Burns, Singleton, and Ellis. His hit remains the big one in this one. The triple with the bases loaded back in the first inning. Tigers have been out hit 7-3. But Bernero has turned the corner a little bit after that rocky first inning. There's a strike at the knees. And how well has he turned it around? Look at this. The total is still high, but much better the last 2 innings. And there's no way he could continue with that pace that he established in the first inning and stick around the ball game. The Tigers had the bullpen working twice early on in this one. Burns now sporting a 7-game hitting streak, and he takes a walk. Leadoff man is on again. That's the 3rd time out of 4 innings tonight the leadoff man has reached against Bernero. Tigers have turned a couple of double plays behind him, but that's not what Bob Cluck wants to see here. Here's Chris Singleton. One ball, no strikes on Singleton, who was part of the hit parade in the first inning with an RBI hit.
Dimitri giving him way too much room down at third base. If he decides to bunt the ball down the third baseline, he could walk to first base. That's a lot of room. He can just walk to first base if he decides to bunt.
And especially with a guy of his speed. Former football player as well in college at Nevada Reno. He was a wide receiver in college.
We're starting to see so many guys that were former football players, not only in high school, but even at the collegiate level, turn to baseball.
Yeah. Well, there have been a few in the past that have made a pretty good living in the major leagues. Bo Jackson, even Frank Thomas played a little bit of football in college.
You know, those days are about over, though, Mario, because nowadays, I mean, you're starting to see more and more young kids start to specialize in just one sport at a very young age. I mean, so much pressure is put on a youngster to play basketball year-round or to play baseball year-round, because they feel like if they don't play year-round, then the other guys are going to pass them up.
Exactly. That's lined back up the middle into center. Base hit. First 2 men reach for the Athletics here in the 4th inning. Well, here's an opportunity to sleep under the stars in the Comerica Park outfield at the Kids Campout. It's coming up on Saturday, June 28th. following the Tigers Diamondbacks game that night. For more information or to purchase tickets, call 313-471-BALL.
And of course, when you start talking about two sports stars in the state of Michigan, Kirk Gibson's name comes to mind, who played football and of course baseball at Michigan State.
A fine institution, I might add.
Really?
Yeah, fine institution.
You didn't go there by any chance,
No,
did you?
yeah, I did. There's a bunt to third by Ellis. Tough play for Dimitri. Bare hands and throws him out. Boy, Young very nimble at third base. Made a tough play and made it look easy.
Ellis may have telegraphed this just a little bit too much, which allowed Dimitri enough time to come in barehanded and throw off balance. Very nice play by Dimitri Young. He'll be given a sacrifice there, but there's no question in my mind he was bunting for a base hit.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that, but the sacrifice at least will take an at bat away from Ellis. So second and third now, and the Tigers down by 4 runs here in the 4th inning. Pull the infield in.
Can't afford to fall behind any further.
Will Ledesma in the pen, and here comes Alan Trammell. He has made the call immediately as they gave Ledesma a few more pitches. They stalled a little bit on the mound. And we'll step aside here as Ledesma enters the ball game. 6-2 A's. The 4th inning in a 6-2 ball game, and NBA TV Real Playoffs chronicles the real-life happenings of 16 NBA players as they advance throughout the postseason, including the Pistons' Richard Hamilton. Follow each player through the twists and turns of each victory and defeat as they strive for basketball's ultimate prize. NBA TV Real Playoffs, Sunday night at 9 and 9:30 on Fox Sports Net. Adam Bernero tonight, 3 1/3. And 81 pitches in that span, allowing 6 runs, all earned, and he leaves with 2 men aboard, only 1 out, and he gives way to Will Ledesma, making his 9th appearance of the year. Ledesma, one of the 3 Rule 5 picks that the Tigers have in the bullpen. He'll face Scott Hatteberg now, with the Tigers drawing the infield in a little bit. That's a ball up high, 1-0. The Tigers have 4 different stages of how much they will pull their infield in, depending on the situation, the time of the ball game. There's a ball missing outside. 2 balls and no strikes.
Burns on third base has some speed. Very aggressive with a secondary lead as he walks down the line before Ledesma delivers the ball toward home. If the ball is hit to the right side of the infield, he may have a good chance of scoring.
That's hit to the right side, but well beyond the infield. Torres on the run, still going, won't get it. 1 hop off the wall. Burns will come in and score. Singleton right behind him. They'll send him home. He'll score. It's a 2-run double for Scott Hatteberg. His 2nd hit of the night. And the A's have built an 8-2 lead now.
The A's just continue to come after you. They hadn't been swinging the bats very well in this series, but they have really busted out in tonight's game. But they've gotten a lot of pitches right down the middle of the plate that have been elevated, and they just haven't missed them.
Well, there haven't been too many games this year in which the Tigers pitching staff has been roughed up as much as they have tonight. That is the 9th hit now for the A's, and an 8-2 advantage. And here's Eric Chavez.
This A's team is on a mission, Mario. The last 3 years they've been knocked out of division series in the very first round. They lost to the Yankees the first couple of years. But I think the one that really stung was last year when they were knocked out of the playoffs by the Minnesota Twins. Even though the Twins had a remarkable year, Oakland felt like they were the better team. And finally they had dodged the Yankees in that first round of the division series.
Yeah, they did, and I think most people gave the A's certainly a nod up in getting to the World Series. Didn't work out that way, but you may be right. This team may be on a mission this year. They've come out and played pretty good baseball, and in the past couple of years, they'd gotten off to slow starts, but not this season. Here's the 1-1 from Ledesma. 1-2 now on Chavez.
How about the previous season, 2001, the year the Diamondbacks won the World Series? Oakland was ahead of the Yankees by 2 games, and they had won the first 2 games in New York, only to allow the Yankees to come back and win 3 straight.
Well, that Yankee team, once you get into the playoffs, and they were upset last year by the Angels in the playoffs, but boy, are they tough. That's hit hard to the right side, right at Shane Halter. Chavez gone, and advanced the runner to third base as Hatterberg moves up.
I was talking to Ron Washington before the game today, and he said that the one thing that they took out of those 3 series is that those clubs that they went up against the Yankees those 2 years in Minnesota taught them how to play, because they were fundamentally sound during the course of that division series, and Oakland was not. As good as their pitching is and as good as their pitching has been, you're starting to get the feeling that if they don't win a world championship in the next couple of years, then they're going to feel like they haven't really accomplished a whole lot.
Here's Tejada. Yeah, that was a series. You mentioned the A's were up 2 games tonight. Remember that play that Derek Jeter made?
My goodness.
And that just absolutely turned things around. That relay play.
He made another play when they went back to New York in Game 5, diving into the stands, catching a pop-up.
That's way up high, 2-0. Well, and those are the things, and we had the discussion last night about who the best shortstops are in the league, and this guy right here, Tejada, is certainly among the best. And Alan Trammell wasn't bad at all.
And for 20 years, he was pretty good.
But it's the things that stand out with Derek Jeter that really, I think, drive home your point about why he might be the second best behind Rodriguez. There's one lined foul down the left field line. That one almost dropped in.
And make no mistake about it, Alan Trammell did not have the kind of physical tools that the 4 guys that we always talk about, Tejada, Garciaparra, Jeter, and of course Alex Rodriguez. But what he did have was smarts. He knew how to play all the hitters. He was always in the right place at the right time. Didn't have a great throwing arm, but always just enough to get that hitter by 1 step. Fundamentally sound. And of course he's passing on everything that he knows to the youngster Omar Infante.
Well, Alan always says that he wasn't the best hitter coming up. He got to the big leagues at an early age. He just found a way to hang around. He was able to keep his head above water those first couple of years, and then boy did he take off.
That's what he's hoping for so many of the young players that he's managing today. He knows that a lot of them don't belong in the big leagues, and he said, I didn't belong in the big leagues when I first came up, but as you said, I figured out a way to do something positive every single day, and I didn't make mental mistakes.
And that's something positive, was playing outstanding defense. That's popped up, foul ground. Let's see if Pena can get there. Sliding attempt. Unable to make the play. Carlos with a good effort. Came up a little bit short. A's have a man at third with 2 outs. They have scored a couple of runs to lengthen that lead again. Scott Hatterberg's 2-run double. He's standing at third now. Tejada 1 for 2 with an RBI single. That's in the air towards shallow left. Again, a late jump from Monroe, but he's under it now. And the side retired. But the A's come back with 2 of their own as we go to the bottom of the 4th. 6-run ball game. Right. Here it is again. Besides Barry Zito, who are the other 4 A's to win a Cy Young Award? Did you know them all?
Bob Welch is one.
You got one. Eckersley.
Eckersley did it as a reliever.
Right. That 92 campaign, and Vita Blue the other.
Bob Welch won 27 games that year.
A very impressive 5-some when you include Zito, who won it last season. There's Carlos Pena as we play in the bottom of the 4th inning. 8-2 in favor of the A's. Pena, then Halter, and then Brandon Inge. Strike called on the outside corner. 1-1 now on Pena. Carlos was up with the bases full back in that first inning, and Zito was scrambling a little bit, giving up a couple of singles and a walk. And Pena flied to center field. Look at that big hook. It misses high. 2-1. Deep at first base is Scott Hatteberg. As the 2-1 comes home.
That's the second time already in the game tonight where Pena has had himself in a good hitter's count. You talked about the bases loaded situation in the very first inning. The count was 1-0 at the time, and didn't have a good swing at a fastball. He flied out harmlessly to center field. That last pitch, 2-1 fastball, almost caught him by surprise.
Diving attempt by Hatteberg into right field, and a leadoff single for
Maybe
Carlos
that's why,
Pena.
Mario, he was looking for the breaking ball.
Here is our Bell Tires stat of the night. And it concerns Mr. Zito, who has had quite a turnaround. Back in July the 24th of 2001, he was 6-7 with an ERA of better than 5. Those were his numbers to that point that year. Look at what he's done since. Amazing. 39-9. This guy just doesn't lose all that often. Oh, and 1 on Shane Halter. Shane walked his first time up. Big breaking ball missing high.
You know, when he left University High School in San Diego, he went to UC Santa Barbara his freshman year, and then transferred to Pierce Junior College to play a sophomore season. He was drafted in the 3rd round after that year. Didn't sign and went to USC, and then was drafted in the 1st round. So 3 years, 3 different schools.
Yeah, he was well traveled in the college circuit. He made it around all over the place and had the great success at USC. Here's the 1-2. That's up high. 2 balls, 2 strikes. We touched on this a little bit earlier, Rod. The fact that there was a big controversy last year. Who should have won the Cy Young, Pedro Martinez or Barry Zito? And maybe Pedro had a better ERA and Zito won a few more games, but they were both very, very close. There's a strike called as Halter looks at the breaking ball and is out. But the one thing that maybe was in Zito's corner as we take a look at this hook.
That's that breaking ball I was telling you about earlier, where he starts the ball very high. As a hitter, you give up on it, and it comes right back down around the belt buckle. That's one thing against Zito. You cannot give up on the high breaking ball because it has such a tremendous break to it.
And Shane has a couple of words for the home plate umpire, Darryl Cousins. And getting back to Zito, there are 2 stats that really stand out in my mind. First of all, he was 13-1 last year in starts after an Athletics loss. So a true stopper in that rotation. And number 2, he was 4-0 in the month of September. Those are 2, I think, very important stats.
You know, I think Pedro sort of sealed his own fate because of the fact that he was injured during the course of the year. And later on in the year, he came out and publicly said, if we are out of the running, meaning Boston, if we can't get to the playoffs, I'm not going to pitch anymore. And I think the writers across the country looked at that as a negative. And I think that may have swayed a few people to vote for Barry Zito that would have normally voted for Pedro.
Well, and in my opinion, I don't blame him, really. I mean, I don't know that a pitcher of the stature of Pedro Martinez should make or have a thought like that, should make a comment like that. As we look at Zito's numbers last year.
Some of the numbers that you were talking about, the opponent's batting average is 218 against the big left-hander.
But Zito's certainly a guy that pitched in the clutch for the A's ball club, and they went on to make the playoffs.
Oakland was in the spotlight, too,
yeah,
because they had that 20-game winning streak, and they were just doing so many positive
and that
things.
helps.
It does
let's
help.
be obvious, that helps.
Everybody across the country was watching.
That's driven in the air toward left, hit pretty well. Burns is on the move, so is Singleton. The center fielder makes the catch. There are 2 gone now. That'll bring up Gene Kingsale. Kingsale flied to left field back in the 2nd inning.
Hey, Kingsale bunted twice in last night's game. One time he was successful. The other time he was thrown out by Eric Chavez, the third baseman. Right now, Chavez is not going to give him 1 inch down at third base, playing very close in from his respective position.
Not going to get me again, says Chavez. 1 ball, 1 strike. Gene, a modest 3-game hitting streak. Began the season in the leadoff slot for the Tigers. Slumped a bit with a bat. Tigers went with Andres Torres, as they called him up from AAA. But the Kingsale of late now getting a little bit more of an opportunity. One thing Gene does not really do a whole lot of is walk. In fact, he hasn't walked now in his last 31 at bats. He slices this one to right field. Terrence Long had a little bit of trouble with it, but stayed with it. And the Tigers are done in the 4th inning. Through 4 at Comerica. It's an 8-2 game. 5th inning now in an 8-2 ball game. The Tigers trail the Athletics tonight. And here is some of what's on tap for tonight's edition of the Detroit Sports Report. The long road back. Trevor Thompson will have a piece on Steve Avery. Had a big game last night. One more to go for the Pistons. And here's the poll question tonight. Who's the most successful bad boy? The Detroit Sports Report after the game on Fox Sports Net. That's an interesting question. I might have to go with Isaiah, although he wasn't.
It's got to be Dennis Rodman.
Well, Dennis Rodman's up there too, I guess.
I mean, when you start talking about bad boys.
Well, hey, Isaiah was pretty bad on that court. There was no question about that. I mean, bad in a good way.
Rick Mahorn.
Mahorn is up there as well. Lane Beer. Well, that's a tough poll question. You going with Rodman though? Huh?
They had a lot of guys that would knock your head off.
Here's Durazo. In a nice way, of course.
I used to like to watch him play. The bad boys. And how about that shot last night?
Oh, it was straight at
Did you see that shot?
Chucky was clutch.
Teardrop from the ceiling, from the palace ceiling.
It bounced around about 75 times and then fell through and then was popped out in the goaltending call.
I like the NBA basketball at playoff time.
They step it up a notch, don't they? It's fun to watch. Ledesma came on in the 4th inning in place of Bernero. Falls behind Durazo. The count goes 3-1 now on Rubio. They played a pull on Durazo.
Really planning to pull. A lot of room right there, but Durazo's a guy that for the most part does not hit the ball the other way a lot.
He's not going to hit it anywhere now. He's just drawing a walk. Leadoff man is on yet again for the A's. So here's something to mark down on your calendar. See the Tigers take on the Seattle Mariners this Saturday at 1:05. The first 10,000 fans aged 14 and under receive a Tigers baseball glove. For ticket information, phone 248-25-TIGER or visit DetroitTigers.com.
We're not working that afternoon, Mario, but I might just show up so I can get me one of those gloves. Look at that.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. We'll both show up.
It's blue with the old English D on it.
Nifty giveaway. Well, but you know what, Rod? I've just been reminded you have to be 14 and under.
I can fake it.
How are you going to fake being 14 and under?
I don't know.
I'll walk in on your knees.
I'll pull some strings. Shave my mustache.
1-0 on Hernandez. Make it 1-1. Great giveaway nonetheless. So we'll get the kids down here.
So I can't get one then, I guess.
Well, we might have to work one for you. We'll see. Hernandez. Infield single, drove in a run his first time up. He waves and misses 1 and 2. Well, let's see. The A's now have put the leadoff man on in every inning tonight except the 3rd. And that has helped them build this 8-2 lead. Tigers have been out hit 9-4 as the A's offense has come alive in this series after 2 subpar games. That's hit slowly off the end of the bat. It got by Ledesma and no play for Infante, unable to pick it up with a bare hand. That's the second infield single of the game now for Ramon Hernandez. Better than lucky than good.
Well, once this ball gets past Ledesma, it's a do or die play for Infante. The turf here, the natural surface at Comerica Park, is very, very high, which means the balls are going to roll very, very slow. And every now and then, even though you want the grass high, if you're Alan Trammell, it works against you.
It did that time, and now the Athletics have another threat going here in the 5th. Here's Terrence Long. Durazo, the runner at second base, and Hernandez at first. Ledesma missing outside. We have talked about Will Ledesma and his future with the Tigers. They certainly feel that he has a bright future, but more than likely as a starter. He is getting his feet wet in the big leagues out of the bullpen. That's popped up. Inge will give chase. It's back out of play. Ledesma, though, Rod, they feel is a guy that certainly has enough stuff to become a quality big league starter, and being left-handed certainly helps.
Well, he's got good stuff. He's got 3 above-average pitches: the fastball, the slider, and also an exceptional changeup. Of all the 3 guys that are out in the bullpen of Rule 5 guys, he is the guy that, for me, has the stuff to start and the stamina to start as well.
The other 2, of course, being Matt Roney and Sperling, the 3 Rule 5s the Tigers are carrying in their bullpen. Here's another excuse me swing. Wow. And look at this. Dimitri will make the play, but throw it away. It gets by Pena, and this will score a run as Durazo comes in. Right behind him now is Hernandez. He will score, and Long ends up at third base. An ill-advised throw by Dimitri Young had no chance to get him, and 2 more runs come in as a result.
Well, the one thing that Dimitri needs to know before the ball's hit is who's running. If you're playing deep at your respective position, this being third base where he is right now, he should know right now, if I pick this ball up, I've got no play at first base. And if you're Carlos Pena, you've got to come off the bag and catch the ball. You can't try to short hop this ball if you can. And I'm not so sure he could have, but you have to come off the bag. And of course, Long looking at Ron Washington, third base coach, who kept the right arm waving. He ends up on third base. You can read Tram's lips saying, "You've got to be kidding me." Yep. You didn't know I could do that, did you, Wolf?
No, you're very good lip reading.
You didn't know that, did you?
It's scary sometimes how good you are in lip reading. Very dangerous. Here's a ball high to Eric Burns. Well, the Tigers now find themselves down by 8. It's a 10-2 ball game. 11 hits on the board now for the Athletics. Big 6-run first, 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, and the aforementioned Matt Roney now warming up. The 2-0 is slapped the other way, base hit. I'll tell you what, Burns has had himself a pretty good series. With the infield drawn in a bit, he just goes the other way and picks up his 4th RBI of the night. That'll make it 11-2 now. So Burns, sporting a 7-game hitting streak, has really added some spark to the A's offense in this series. With Jermaine Dye on the disabled list, he's filled in nicely. Here is Chris Singleton now. Strike called on the outer edge. 0-1. Ledesma gave up the leadoff walk. That has come around to score. Leadoff walk in the 4th inning also scored. Ball outside, 1-1. Singleton spent 3 years with the Chicago White Sox in the big leagues. That's his, or was his, first organization. Played in Baltimore last year, but he's a guy that showed some early power potential, but his power numbers have fallen the last couple of years. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ken Maka likes what he's seeing tonight. His offense coming alive in this one.
He inherited a pretty good job, didn't he?
Good work if you can get it, huh? Good team, great pitching staff.
Billy Beane, their general manager, decided he couldn't pay Art Howe the hefty contract that perhaps Howe had earned and deserved. Therefore, he allowed him to talk to the Mets, and the Mets signed him, and all he did was to slide his bench coach into the managerial slot, and that being Ken Maka. You know, one thing about this Oakland club, when you look at their third base coach, Ron Washington, he's held that position for 7 years. Brad Fisher over at first base, he's been in the organization for 25 years. He's been in the big leagues the last 8 years. Rick Peterson, the pitching coach, the last 4 years. They've got a lot of members of their staff down there that have been around a long, long time. Therefore, they know all the players.
There is a lot to be said about stability. And a little look at Ron Washington, who has been in that familiar spot.
I was teasing him about his glasses today. He says, Rod, I'm getting a little older. He says, I cannot see Ken Maka on the first base side in this ballpark, so therefore I got to wear my glasses.
Some big-time lenses he's got going there. Good pickup by Inge with Ellis at the plate.
He said when they're at home in Oakland, he doesn't need the glasses because they're on the third base side. Therefore, he doesn't have to put them on.
But to look across the diamond, he needs a little bit of help. Ellis with a base hit tonight. In 2 official trips, he also has a sacrifice. That's down the middle. 1-1. Ledesma came on in the 4th inning. The first man he faced was Hatterberg. He doubled in 2 promptly against him, and now more trouble for Will here in the 5th inning. And he falls behind Ellis. 2-1 the count. Ellis was acquired by the Athletics in that deal that involved Johnny Damon. He was originally a Kansas City Royals draft pick. He came over to Oakland with Johnny Damon. Damon has since moved on.
He only spent 1 year in an Athletic uniform. He left as a free agent. As a matter of fact, they lost he and Jason Giambi in the same year. But yet they just come right back out and win 100 games.
Yeah, you know,
no problem.
And it's like Seattle. We talk about all the talent they've lost over the years. They have somehow found a way to bounce back and fill those slots. 2-2 pitch.
If you look at this Oakland club, they've basically got the core of their team signed through at least 2005. Their catcher, Ramon Hernandez, is signed through 2005. 2 of the 3 pitchers, Zito, Mulder, they're signed through 2005 with a club option for 2006. Tim Hudson's deal runs out next year. Tejada's a free agent this year.
Swung out and missed. And not a good swing by Ellis. Well, it bodes well for the future, doesn't it?
Well, they did a nice job of recognizing who was going to be big-time players. If you look at the exceptional changeup that Ledesma has. I mean, he has the ability to throw 3 changeups in a row and get the hitter to look just like that. That's just how good his changeup is. But first and foremost, Billy Beane, he recognized who the good talent was going to be. They drafted very well. Then they get these guys in the system. They buy them out of arbitration. They buy them out of their first year free agency. They pay them some money, which is a little bit of a gamble. But then they've got some quality players for years to come. They don't have to worry about losing them through free agency before they have to.
Well, and that's where you really have to rely on your player development people and trust their judgment, who they think will be big league ball players for quite a while. If you want to open up the purse strings and pay the cash, you better be pretty sure.
John Hart, I think, was the guy who started this probably 10 years ago when he was in Cleveland, when he signed all those young players to lengthy deals. Albert Bell comes to mind. Sandy Alomar Jr. was one guy. Kenny Lofton, all those young guys got real nice deals, and they really hadn't proved themselves in the big leagues.
Lock them up and hope that they continue to play well. 1 ball and 1 strike on Scott Hatterberg. Here's the 1-1. Down low, 2 balls and 1 strike. Well, speaking of Cleveland, our wall-side windows look into the future. Seattle coming to town next through Sunday. Then it's into Cleveland Monday through Thursday, and then into Chicago later next week.
We got a lot of games next week.
A lot of games coming up. All 4 of those in Cleveland. Always a nice place to watch a game. Jacobs Field. That one's popped up. Dimitri Young will have an opportunity in foul ground. And that is that for the A's. They get a couple more runs. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning. It's 11-2. The 5th inning now, an 11-2 ball game as the A's have added to their lead. And there's a defensive change for Oakland. Frank Menachino now is in at second base to replace Mark Ellis. So Menachino is the new man at second. Barry Zito back to the mound, and Andres Torres leads it off. Torres, then Infante and Higginson. It has been all Oakland tonight. They have battered Tigers pitching for 11 runs on 12 hits. Torres, in fact, responsible for the Tigers getting their 2 runs. He tripled one in back in the second and then came around to score on a misplay on the relay. Chavez in tied at third against him. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Torres. Here's the 1-2 pitch. That's popped up. Shallow left field as Eric Burns comes in. Torres gone 1 away in the 5th inning. Well, Zito has settled down a bit after some early trouble. The Tigers got a couple against him in the second. They loaded the bases against him in the first. But the native Californian has settled into this one nicely. There is Infante, who is 0 for 2. That's up high. 1 ball and no strikes. We're talking about Barry Zito a little bit earlier. He had a career high 10-game winning streak going into this season, and it continued after 2 starts, but it was broken against the Anaheim Angels when the Angels beat him back on April 13th. But he had won 10 in a row. He's a guy that is almost unbeatable in Oakland. His home numbers are unreal, really. The 1-1. Breaking ball stays up. In his last 33 starts in Oakland, he is now 22-3. And yet the Tigers are able to beat him back on April 23rd at Network Associates Coliseum. It's been a long night for the Tiger bench tonight after a thrilling bottom of the 9th win last night against the A's. The Oakland offense came out swinging tonight with 6 in the very first inning. Here's the 2-2. That's popped up. And Aquino will get his first chance of the night. 2 gone.
That's the one thing that Trammell talks about all the time, Mario, is consistency. Wonderful game last night. They did everything that they could possibly do right. Eventually won that game. The double, the sacrifice bunt in the 9th inning, the sacrifice fly by Brandon Inge. Then they come out today and don't compete early. But it's going to be days like that. You know, Trammell was talking on the bench today, but talking about how it's going to be a learning process for not only himself, but the players all season long.
Iggy pops this one up. A little bit of trouble in center for Singleton. He finally finds the baseball in a 1-2-3 inning for Zito. So we played 5 on our way to the 6th inning. Baseball on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by Bell Tire. Nobody comes close, nobody's closer. And by Aflac. Ask about it at work. Another pretty good night for baseball here at Comerica Park, as the Tigers fell behind early in this one. We have some changes now for the Tigers. Alan Trammell has gone to his bench. Shane Halter will move from second base out to left field. And the new second baseman is Ramon Santiago. And Craig Monroe will move from left to right, so Santiago will bat in Higginson's old spot, which is third in the lineup, and a new pitcher as well. Matt Roney has checked into this one, and he faces Chavez, Tejada, and Rubio Durazo. Roney becomes the 3rd Tigers pitcher tonight. He shattered his bat and rolls it to Santiago. 1 away. This will be the 11th appearance of the season now for Roney. Opponents batting just .233 against him, and a pretty good ERA.
Doesn't walk a lot of people either, Mario.
No,
just 6
helps.
walks in 15 innings, which is not low by any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, we are talking about a guy that hasn't really pitched above A ball.
Here is Miguel Tejada now. Tejada singled in a run back in the first inning. 1 for 3 in this one for the Oakland shortstop. One of the 12 hits that the A's have posted tonight. talking about Tejada and how he really has improved, and certainly his offensive numbers have been sparkling. But when he first got to the A's, the improvement that he has made has been remarkable defensively. And Ron Washington, their third base coach, has worked with him extensively. And Ron will tell you that he has come so far since his early days in the organization. In fact, there was so much to correct, said Ron Washington. The raw talent was always there, but he had some tough times on the routine plays. And boy, has he helped out Tejada to become one of the best shortstops in the league. That's lifted in the air into shallow right. Monroe tracking this one. 2 outs. Well, the boys of summer return with a season premiere of Fox Saturday Baseball. This week, Troy Gloss and the world champion Angels take on Nomar Garcia Parra and the Red Sox. Or the Cubs battle the Cardinals. MLB on Fox. Opening day Saturday at 1 p.m. on your local Fox station. Fox 2 in Detroit. A couple of good matchups coming your way on Saturday. Here is Rubio Durazo now with 2 out. Durazo has been part of the mix offensively tonight, batting .277 now. That rides inside and high. 2 balls and no strikes. Durazo's solid numbers last year: 16 home runs, hit .261. But getting a chance to play every day here with the Athletics. Literally, he has started every game this year for the A's. Two and one the count on Durazo. That's on the ground to the right side, hit slowly. Pena waits for it, flips to Roney, and a 1-2-3 inning for Matt Roney. So we'll go to the bottom of the 6th inning with a young Monroe and Pena coming up. Tigers down 11-2 as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning now at Comerica Park. And hey, kids, you're invited to join the Tigers players and coaches for an on-field baseball clinic. It is this Saturday from 11:30 to 12:30 prior to the 105 game against Seattle. For ticket information, phone 248-25-TIGER and learn from the pros. Good opportunity for the youngsters. Barry Zito has been in control of late. He has retired 6 in a row now, and Zito will face Dimitri Young to start things off in the home half of the 6th inning.
No one else in the big leagues wears a number that's higher than 75. Or is there someone that wears a number higher than 75, Mario?
You know, I'm trying to think, and there may be, but off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone higher than 75.
Of course, when you're a rookie and you go to big league spring training your very first time, they give you very high numbers. Of course, Zito elected to keep his number once he established himself as a major leaguer.
1 ball, 1 strike on Dimitri. Swung on and missed. We found someone, Rod. Our crack staff has found Turk Wendell. He wears number 99. Ball down low to Dimitri. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
He's still pitching?
He's still pitching, but he's a little bit different, so 99 kind of fits him. He's a guy that brushes his teeth between innings.
Yeah.
Eats a ton of licorice and won't step on the foul line.
Wears the puka shells.
Some assorted weird things.
Hey, whatever works, though. You know what I mean?
99 kind of fits his personality.
Whatever works.
Here's the 2-2 pitch now to Dimitri Young. Swung on and missed, and he got him. Boy, that 87-mile-an-hour fastball looks so much quicker when you back it up against that curve.
Here's a fastball just right on the outside part of the plate. They've allowed Mr. Zito to settle in out there. They could have gotten him earlier. We talked about the bases loaded situation. They didn't score a run in the very first inning. They did come back and score a couple in the 2nd inning, but the way the Zitos pitched the last 3 innings, they're going to have a tough time scoring any more in this one.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Craig Monroe, who is 0 for 1, facing him now.
Stranger things have happened, though.
Swung on and missed. 11-2, the A's in the lead. Tigers picked up their only runs in the 2nd. Zito's breaking ball missing down low. He just seems to be working in a much better rhythm now. Ball outside. 3 balls, 1 strike. Hey, we found another one. Ben Weber, 77 for the Angels, which is a little bit higher than Zito. Well, we've got them all working now. They're just feverishly looking through the red book at all of the numbers around the league. And Tim Bryant, man, he's got that red book out. I can find you some more.
We put him to work, didn't we? We put him to work.
3-2. Here's the full count pitch. That's hit hard, but foul down the third base line. Only 4 Tigers hits tonight, and they've been relatively quiet. They had a couple of singles in the first inning. Higginson and Young, the triple by Andres Torres in the second inning, and a leadoff single by Pena in the fourth. That's about it. Again, Zito's 3-2. Swung on and missed.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Detroit Tigers and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Detroit Tigers.
Here is Pena now with 2 outs. One of the 4 Tigers hits in this one. Look at the break on that curveball. It's just not a breaking ball that you see a whole lot of in this league.
It's one of the, and that's the exact reason why he is so tough. He stands 6 feet 5 inches first and foremost. He releases the ball not from 60 feet 6 inches, but he's about 6 feet closer because he's so tall. And that breaking ball is just so tough to pick up.
Well, Pena flies to center. Another 1-2-3 inning for Zito. An 11-2 game. Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by the Office of Highway Safety. Click it or ticket, a law you can live with. And by McDonald's. Come into McDonald's today for America's favorite fries. And a look at the Fox Theater across from Comerica Park in downtown Detroit.
McDonald's fries sounding pretty good about right now, partner.
I was thinking the exact same thing, and I was hoping you wouldn't bring it up, but yeah, they sound really good right now as Roney goes back to the hill in the 7th. 11-2, Oakland in command in this one. Hernandez, Long, and Burns in the 7th. Big night tonight for Hernandez. He's been on base all 3 times, has scored twice as well. That's popped up. Shallow center field. Infante will drift back. 1 away. It's the first time they've kept Hernandez off the base paths. Activity now. Jim Messier is tuning it up in the Oakland bullpen. Veteran right-hander. We got a pinch hitter now for Terrence Long, so he's done for the night. And a strike called on Grabowski. Jason Grabowski batting for Terrence Long. He's getting an opportunity to go to their bench a little bit. They've posted what they feel is enough offense in this one. Here's the 1-1. 1-2.
As a manager, you always look for situations to get your role players some at bats. And of course, in this game with a 9-run lead, Ken Maka has decided to give his guys a few at bats. You never know when these at bats that you get in this game is going to pay off for you down the road.
He tried to hold up, couldn't do it though, and he struck him out, and Grabowski is done very quickly. So 2 quick outs for Matt Roney.
Outstanding breaking ball from Roney. I mean, this thing just tumbles right off the table.
You know, these 3 Rule 5 picks, Rod, have all had their flashes this year and have all looked good at times. But I think if you're looking at consistently from the beginning of the season right now, maybe Roney has been the most consistent.
I would agree with that.
And Sperling has had some nice outings, and Ledesma has gotten roughed up a little bit tonight. He's looked good at times, but Roney just comes in, throws the baseball, gets his innings in, and for the most part has been pretty good.
I think also Bob Cluck and Alan Trammell have picked the right spots to pitch to 3 youngsters. Really haven't had them in situations where the game's been on the line. But when Matt Anderson was roughed up and sent down to AAA, Franklin Herman has not stepped up in that closer's role. They had to start putting these guys in more meaningful roles, and you know, with each step that they take, they continue to pass those tests.
Yeah, Allen said early on this year there will come a time where these young guys will have to pitch in tight games, and there certainly have been some situations. And for the most part, these are guys that haven't pitched above A ball.
Sperling has 1 save, although he pitched 3 innings to get that save.
3-1 pitch. Threw it right by him. 94 on the gun. He challenged Burns, who's having himself a night. 4 RBIs. Couple of runs scored. A's came in the bottom, or toward the bottom of team hitting in the American League, but they have awoken tonight. Here's a 3-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. He jammed him and struck him out. Another 1-2-3 inning for Matt Roney. We go to the stretch at Comerica, 11-2. Fox Sports Net is brought to you by Comerica. We listen, we understand, we make it work. Back at Comerica Park, as we go now to the bottom of the 7th inning, stretch time here at the ballpark, and some changes. Grabowski stays in the game. He'll play in right field. Terrence Long out of the game now. Grabowski in the pinch hitting role, stays in the contest. Jim Messier is the new pitcher out of the pen, and that means that's it for Barry Zito.
It's the 4th game of the season for Jim Messier. He spent some time on the disabled list, just getting his legs underneath him. He'll be a valuable member of their bullpen as long as he stays healthy.
Here is Shane Halter now. Halter leads it off, then Inge, and then Kingsale as the Tigers stare an 11-2 deficit in the eyes as we get late into this one tonight. The big 6-run first inning, the story for the Athletics in this ball game. They jumped out quickly on Adam Bernero this evening.
Jim Messier came off the disabled list on April 23rd when the Tigers were in town out in Oakland. Pitched 1 inning that night, gave up 2 hits, a couple of runs. Both runs were earned.
He's a veteran guy that has been around some good ball clubs. That Seattle team in 1995, and he's played with the Yankees as well. Devil Rays for a spell, and has been with Oakland since the 2000 campaign. The 0-2 pitch. 1-2 now on Shane Halter. That's fouled away. And again, the Tigers tonight have been limited to just 4 hits in this one. Mike New is warming up now in the Oakland pen. Halter trying to extend his hitting streak to 5 in a row. He is 0 for 1 plus a walk tonight. Tigers had some early chances against Zito, Rod, and they, especially in that first inning when they loaded the bases, had an opportunity to get back in it. They did score a couple in the second, but once he got going, as Halter goes down, he really just took command of this game. Well, here is some of what's on tap for tonight's edition of the Detroit Sports Report. The long road back for Steve Avery. Trevor Thompson will have that story. One more to go for the Pistons, and the poll question tonight, the most successful bad boy. What do you think? The Detroit Sports Report after the game on Fox Sports Net. Brandon Inge now with 1 out.
You're absolutely right, though, Mario. I mean, great pitchers, and you would put Zito in that classification. When you've got a chance to get those guys early, you've got to get them. They allowed him off the hook, and And now he's out of the game with a commanding lead and looking to win his 6th game of the year.
Inge takes one at the knees, a strike, 2-1. Well, when you look at that West, as Franklin Herman now starts to warm up in the Tigers bullpen. Seattle, a very strong team again this year. There's a base hit for Brandon Inge. But, and you use the term on a mission this year for the Athletics. I think in the end, this pitching staff has to be the difference for this team in that race.
Well, they've had that pitching staff the last 3 years, and these guys have been awfully good. I mean, they win in upwards of 15, 16, 17 games a year. We're talking about all 3 of them. But once you get into that short series, you can't make mistakes. They have made some mistakes in the past. Tim Hudson last year started 2 games in the division series, and you talk to some people that are close to the Oakland organization, they will tell you at the end of the season Tim Hudson was not healthy. He had a hip problem, but yet he still took the ball, and he lost 2 games in that division series.
Boy, health really becomes a big issue once you get to the postseason. Every team at that point of the year is going to be banged up.
Right.
There will be bumps and bruises, and you deal with that. But when you have injuries that limit what you can do, that becomes a big part of a series. 1-1 on Gene Kingsale with 1 on, 1 out. Two balls and a strike.
You know, there are certain teams when the season starts that they're just hoping to compete. You know, they're hoping to get to the playoffs. This Oakland team, they're looking to go to the World Series.
That's on the ground to the shortstop. Tejada to second one. Menechino's relay.
Nice turn.
6-4-3. Tigers done in the 7th. Let's go to the 8th. 11-2. 11-2 in favor of the Oakland A's, and they were out early today with the bats in the first inning. A 6-run first. Mark Ellis led it off with a base hit, and the A's just wouldn't stop swinging the bat. The big hit in the inning for the Athletics, which really busted it open. This triple by Eric Burns, a 3-run triple, highlighting the 6-run inning. And the A's have been in command all night. Our Comerica game summary tonight: Adam Bernero roughed up early, gave up 8 runs in 3 1/3. Barry Zito strong again tonight. The 6-run first for the A's, and the Athletics with runners in scoring position tonight. 7 for 11. They have really taken advantage of their opportunities in this one. And now Franklin Herman, speaking of opportunities, with another chance to pitch.
I like the fact that Allen has decided to go back to Herman in the game tonight after walking 3 in the 1 inning last night that he did pitch.
New batter he made as well. Matt Walbeck is in to catch now for Brandon Inge, as Alan Trammell goes to the bench. Herman facing Chris Singleton. Franklin has struggled with the control.
Yeah, he's walked more than innings pitched this year so far,
which is a no-no for a guy that they feel someday may be the closer here in Detroit. Swung on and missed.
You know, Trammell was asked the question before the game today if Herman is in jeopardy of being sent down to the minor leagues to see if he can harness his control and throw the ball over the plate a little bit more efficiently. And Trammell said no. We have not considered that as of yet.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Strike 3 call. Well, that's a good start for Herman, who picks up where Roney left off.
Well, unlike last night's game, where the fastball was elevated, he comes into the game tonight not overthrowing. Obviously, there's no pressure on Herman whatsoever. They're trailing by 9 runs. But if you're Bob Cluck and Alan Trammell, you just want to see him have a better taste in his mouth when he leaves the field tonight than he did last night, because obviously the one he had last night was not a good one.
No, not a good feeling at all. And that's where he spent most of last night, way up in the strike zone, 1-0. Frank Menechino getting his first at bat after coming on as a defensive replacement.
And when you talk to Bob Cluck about the problems that Herman has had this year with his control, he will tell you it's simple. He will say he just overthrows all the time.
Well, and that can be, I guess, a curse for a guy that throws mid-90s and can touch upper 90s at times. Boy, you have that feeling that you can throw it by anyone.
Well, he was able to do that in the minor leagues, able to throw the ball by minor league hitters, and minor league hitters swing at the fastball right around the letters a lot. He throws the fork ball and he gets them out. But once you get to the big leagues, you got to throw the ball over the plate if you want big league hitters to swing at it, especially this Oakland club. They will take a walk.
which I think is a lesson that Nate Cornejo learned earlier this year. You don't necessarily have to throw it through the catcher's glove.
The first hitter he faces in this inning, 3 straight fastballs, all strikes. Then he comes back out this inning, this hitter, and throws 4 fastballs out of the strike zone.
So a 1-out walk to Menachino. And a base runner now against Herman. Scott Hatterberg will bat. Drove in a couple back in the 4th inning with a double. There's a fastball down the middle, a strike, 0-1. Hatterberg now with 19 RBIs. He broke an 0-for-16 slump with a base hit back in the 2nd inning. Swung on and missed, 0-2. Hatterberg has 3 home runs this year. Nearly had a 4th, but Bobby Higginson had different thoughts back in Oakland earlier.
A great play by Bobby Higginson. And one of the reasons why the Tigers have been able to stay close to Oakland in the 6 games they played, I should say 5 games because they're not close here in the 6th game, is because they flashed leather at them. They played well defensively, hadn't made a lot of mistakes.
Well, that'll certainly help you out. Swing and a miss, and Herman got him with a split that time, and out number 2 is Hatterberg.
A good split-fingered fastball. I haven't seen anybody hit this pitch yet. And if he continues to locate it down there, Mario, we may not see anybody hit it.
Yeah, and there again is the key. Location on that split-finger pitch, and that one was placed beautifully.
See, for a guy like Herman going up against a very dangerous hitter like Eric Chavez, if you can get that first pitch fastball over the plate without him doing a lot of damage, and bear in mind, Chavez sees more pitches than any big leaguer, over 4 pitches per at bat on any given night. But if you get ahead, then you can expand the strike zone.
Swing and a miss. May have expanded it a bit there. 1 ball, 1 strike. You can tell Chavez is still not up to par with that sore hand. He is 0 for 4 tonight, has not had too many good at bats in this one. Here's the 1-1. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Well, this next pitch will really give us a real good idea of just how well Chavez feels today. 2-1. Herman's had a difficult time controlling the fastball. May throw a split-fingered fastball here, but, you know, for me, you may as well try to locate your fastball. And if he doesn't locate it, then a guy like Chavez, who loves to hit fastballs, is going to get a good rip at it.
The 2-1, way high. 3 balls and 1 strike. Evidently dialing it down a little bit and not trying to throw it as hard as he can is a little bit tougher than it looks, because Franklin has struggled with not trying to overthrow as he falls behind again. Here's the 3-1. That's way high, and that's another walk for Herman, the 2nd that he has had in this inning.
You know, they're grooming him as a potential closer in the future. But until he starts to throw more strikes, if you're Alan Trammell and you're already struggling to win games, you're going to have a tough time bringing Herman into a game where there's been very little margin for error.
Well, Allen put it pretty succinctly before the game when asked about that future closing role. He's going to have to earn it. It's just that simple, and by earning it, you need to perform as well as you can, cut down on the walks, and get some people out. There's another one high, 1 ball and no strikes. And that only stands to reason. It's an obvious statement, but it's something that Herman has struggled with early on in the season, the control factor. He's facing Tejada now with 2 on and 2 out. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Got him to pop it up. Infante goes back to the grass. And that'll take care of the side. So Herman walks a couple, but they strand 2. He played 7.5 at Comerica. Baseball on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by Pepsi, the joy of Pepsi. Art Van, the only furniture store with a total satisfaction guarantee. And by Comerica. We listen, we understand, we make it work. 11-2, the A's on top of the Tigers as we go to the bottom of the 8th at Comerica. And we have a new pitcher, literally.
I knew he was going to come in, Mario, when I saw him warming up down in the A's bullpen.
Yes, didn't we all? Here is the first man to face him, Andres Torres.
He's been awfully tough this year, though. Has not been scored on in 7 of his 8 outings so far this year.
Well, you knew he would be.
I thought you knew.
Here's the 1-0. Bounce to the first baseman. Nice pick there by Hatterberg. He'll flip to the pitcher covering. And 1 away. So Torres tonight is 1 for 4. That'll bring up Omar Infante now. The Tigers have again only 5 hits. They were stuck on 4 for a while, but not a lot of offense tonight. Meanwhile, the A's come out swinging in this one, scoring 6 big ones in the first inning. Infante is 0 for 3 in this ball game. That's in the air to right field. Grabowski is there. 2 gone.
They're not wasting any time against New. He's throwing the ball over the plate, and they're up there swinging. You know, we've talked about the 3 Rule 5 players that the Tigers have in their bullpen. Mike New is also a Rule 5 drafted player from the Kansas City Royals organization.
Here is Santiago now, his first at bat of the night. You are seeing more and more and more Rule 5 picks in the big leagues now, and that Rule 5 draft, I think, has really become an opportunity for teams to find some diamonds in the rough, and maybe some teams that don't compete to find some future stars.
You don't normally see them with a club like Oakland, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. You normally see them with the teams that are trying to rebuild.
Exactly. I mean, because a team like Oakland, I mean, they're looking to get to the World Series. Anything less than a World Series championship is not going to be good for them in their own minds. So, I mean, very seldom are you able to really have a 24-man roster. But, you know, as I told you, Mike New's not doing a bad job as far as his numbers are concerned.
Santiago has been hit by a pitch. 2-out runner now for the Tigers. Many people wonder about the Rule 5 draft. If you're a professional player in the minor leagues and you've had 3 or more years, but you are not on the team's 40-man roster, you are eligible for that Rule 5 draft, which happens every December, and teams can line up and select players that are not on a big league 40-man roster. And again, if scouts see a player that they really love, and for whatever reason they're not on a big league roster, a 40-man roster, they're fair game.
And a lot of times nowadays, the guys that are being selected via the Rule 5 draft are guys that have played in A-ball.
Yes, a lot of them.
You know, so many of the general managers out there that have the very, very tough decision of getting their 40-man roster set. They don't forget about those young players, but they don't think in their mind that another organization is going to draft them and then put them in the big leagues the entire year. So they run the risk of leaving them off the major league roster, and then sometimes they lose them, sometimes they get them back. It's just one of those, you know, almost like flip a coin sometimes with those guys.
Dimitri cuts and misses, and that's all for the Tigers in the 8th. We'll go to the 9th. It's been all Oakland tonight at Comerica. 11-2, the A's on top in this one, and coming up later on in the Best Damn Sports Show period. Pretty good lineup tonight. Ducks coach Mike Babcock, NASCAR's Waltrip and Sadler, and former NBA owner Pat Croce. Best Damn Sports Show period tonight at 11 here on Fox Sports Net. Got a new pitcher now for the Detroit Tigers. Chris Sperling is in. will be his 12th appearance of the year. 1 save to his credit. And the big right-hander set to go to work, facing Rubio Durazo in the 9th inning. First pitch swinging is Durazo. Slams it to center, but Torres makes the play. 1 pitch, 1 out in the 9th. We got another pinch hitter. Mark Johnson is pinch hitting now for the catcher Ramon Hernandez. Johnson 3 for 21 this year. 2 balls and no strikes. Hit to the first baseman. Pena takes this one himself, and Sperling has recorded 2 quick outs here in the 9th. So the Tigers out of the pen tonight have gone with Roney for a couple of innings. Herman pitched the 8th, and now Sperling in the 9th. But Alan Trammell saw early in this one that the A's would get the offense going with that 6-run first inning.
Yeah, they had their hitting shoes on tonight when they left the dugout.
Grabowski cuts and misses, 0-1. Tigers have the Mariners coming in next, beginning tomorrow night. Here's the 0-1 to Grabowski. That's it to first base. Easy inning. 1-2-3 for Chris Sperling. We go to the bottom of the 9th. Last chance for the Tigers. 11-2. To the Oakland Athletics.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tonight on Fox Sports Net.
The 11-2 as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning at Comerica Park. Tigers down to their final at-bats now. And again, we'll look at our wall-side windows, look into the future. The Seattle Mariners coming in beginning tomorrow night. We'll have that broadcast for you right here on Fox Sports Net. We'll have all 4 of the games coming up Monday through Thursday in Cleveland. And then later next week, the Tigers will take on the White Sox in Chicago. As we check out the next week of Tigers action. In the meantime, bottom of the 9th is underway, and Micah Bowie delivers a ball inside to Craig Monroe. Numbers on the new pitcher, Bowie. Only his 5th appearance of the year. Monroe, Pena, and Halter here in the 9th for the Detroit Tigers. His only runs scored in the 2nd tonight on a triple by Torres. He then came around to score on a botched relay play. And that has been it. There's a strike at the knees, and Monroe behind in the count now, 1-2.
Pretty good location with that fastball from Bowie. Doesn't throw very hard. That last fastball just 87 miles an hour, but pinpoint control at the knees on the inner half.
1-2 pitch. Missed inside. 2-2, and a new battery made as well for Bowie. Mark Johnson stays in the game and is the catcher now. Here's the 2-2. Lifted back out of play.
Craig Monroe is really taking advantage of the opportunities that he's been given since coming up from Toledo. I guess you could say he's their everyday left fielder right now.
Closest thing to it. That's line. Foul or fair? Foul. Third base side. Boy, Craig almost had himself an extra base hit. He is 0 for 2 tonight.
This is just a beautiful piece of hitting. I mean, this ball is running in on his hands, and look how he pulls his hands inside. You've got to have a very quick bat to do that and some strong hands, and he has both of those.
2-2. There's There's a ball inside, so run it full now on Monroe. Bowie has had time in both leagues, over in the National League with Atlanta and the Cubs. Spent part of last season with the Athletics. That's a high drive into right, hit well. Grabowski back. He's in front of the wall to make the play. One gone as Monroe gave it a charge. Let's go down on the farm now. What's happening down in the minor leagues for the Tigers? AAA Toledo, a couple of guys that are doing well. Shane Lukes, boy, he's gotten off to a great start at 5-1. Cody Ross. Saw him on the Winter Caravan, Rod. He good young man having a great start.
Who's that cat in Double-A Erie? Homero
Rivera, 6-0.
Think his nickname's Homie.
Could be. We may find out before too long.
Come here, homie.
0-1 on Pena. Carlos 1 out of 3. The average now is a little bit over 200, but still Pena has not put together that stretch of 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 games of hitting the ball well. That's tapped slowly towards second. Menachino has it, and 2 gone.
I just think he thinks too much when he's in the batter's box. I mean, that's just my own personal observation. I watch these guys take batting practice every single day. On many days, I watch them take extra batting practice, and you know, I think so many times that Pena tries to take into the game what he's working on that particular day in BP, and it's very, very difficult to do that.
Well, here's Shane Halter now, the last chance for the Tigers.
That's why one's called batting practice.
Yes.
And the other one's called live action, game speed.
Yeah, Alan Trammell uses that term quite a bit, game speed, which is so much different than batting practice. You have so many more variables that you have to encounter during a game. You can practice it, but until you have the ability to bring it back into a game, well, you see the slumps remain, and for Pena, the consistency just has eluded him. 1 ball, 1 strike on Halter. Right at the knees. Make it 1-2 on Shane.
Well, I think Carlos needs to get into that same mode that Monroe has been in since coming back up to the big leagues. He's in survival mode. I mean, he is fighting for his life.
Just missed there. 2-2.
You know, speaking of Monroe, you know, the guy was sent up and down 5 times last year. Second cut this year. He went down to AAA. He wasn't necessarily thinking about getting back to the big leagues with the Tigers. He was just trying to get back to the big leagues. And he played hard down there.
Well, he did indeed, posting that 400 average. And a lot of times, you're right, you go back down, maybe not necessarily thinking I can make it with this club, but you put up some good enough numbers and hope that some other scout will notice you.
It only takes one. It takes one guy to like you that has some pull.
2-2 on Shane Halter. Make it 3-2 now. And the full count pitch. High fly ball. Right field should do it. Grabowski is there, and the A's will take 2 of 3 from the Tigers in this series. Final score tonight, 11-2 Oakland. We're not done yet. Let's go to the Fox Sports Net studios and join Mark Soischer and Angie Arlotti.